At some point after the guest had arrived, about an hour and a half later, uh, it was like, well, it's time to set a table. And so, either my mother would go, if they're at our house, we would set the table, and it was my job to set the plates and the utensils. And we always had fruit. Usually it was a variety of fruits, watermelon, and my father had a market, so we had a lot of fruit and watermelon or melon, different types of melon. That usually was it. Sometimes there was cheese. And as we're sitting around and you're listening to them talking and laughing, and we really don't know what they're laughing about, but they're having a good time. And just remembering, and we used to hear, this is where I really started hearing the word Yergir. Yergirin Chamchne, Yergirin Asi, Yergirin Adi. And at this time when my brother was sitting with us, we would be acting up like, and laughing with each other and saying, well, why don't they go back? And then one day I think it was I who blurted out, well, a little louder, well, why don't they go back? And I didn't realize how cruel it was at the time, but it sunk in shortly after that. Well, it's when I realized the situation could you stop there? Because what I was going to say is I didn't at first realize, why don't they go back? It took a while to know what the genocide was all about. So this, let me bring that in. This is, it wasn't that right away. So when we would hear all the time about the comparison about the fruit in the United States and the fruit in Yergir, we're like, what was the difference? We were enjoying what we had, and how much better was what Yergir had to offer. And we didn't know, and we didn't know where this Yergir was. And so it sort of was annoying that it was this, when they would say Yergirin Asi, Yergirin Adi. And at one time I did say, being in a snide remark, I wonder why they don't go back, thinking I'm being smart. It was a joke. And, I remembered that. Nobody said anything to me until much later on when I started to realize why they weren't going back. And that took maybe a couple of years afterwards. It didn't dawn on me at first why they weren't going back. And also, much later, it's, could they go back? There was a time in the 60s, Armenians wouldn't, visit. We were still here where some Armenian was visiting Turkey, and they were shot. And this is why in 2004, when my friends were all going to Turkey and they asked me to go, and I made up an excuse why I couldn't go, but I was still afraid in 2004. I says, oh, you don't, because I was remembering up until that time that Armenians still were not safe in Turkey. And I think from what I'm learning now, I could have been right. And So, and I regret that I didn't go on that trip because I had a lot of friends on that trip. But anyway, now in 2008, when I decided to go back, I didn't have that fear, and at no time did I fear, because you were hearing a lot of Armenians going back and forth, and I decided, well, I really want to go and find my aunt, my father's aunt, and while I was in Turkey, I didn't, I could. The thing that the first morning when we got out of the hotel, and we got in the van, and the first sight I saw was the beautiful mountains. I mean, it was a shock to see it was just so beautiful. The land was beautiful. It was a beautiful day. The blue sky, the white clouds in the sky. It was a clear day. You just thought, that the impulse, this is ours. This is ours. Now I know why that they were talking about this Yergit. This is what Yergit is, the beauty of this place. And then, of course, the next glance is, it's not ours. I don't think I didn't feel it's not ours. I always feel it's ours. But it's just not now. Deep inside, I keep saying, it could be a silly thing to say, but there's going to be a topsy-turvy, maybe with, what do we call it? With the weather changing, global warming. Some time ago at UCLA, I once asked a professor, how many degrees does it have to get warm for us to actually have a global warming? When could we have another ice age? And he said it will take only a degree or two, and the weather will start changing. And here we are, 20, 30 years later, we're experiencing that thing that I was questioning. And in my mind, I still have, that land belongs to, not belongs to Armenia, that's the land for Armenians. And it's just, people draw lines on a map, and if you ignore those lines, and if you read your history, it's yours. So this is this is exactly my faith today, and I still think, as the weather is changing, the way politics are going, I'm getting closer to what I think could happen. And we don't know what the situation will be, but I think with the establishment of a state of Armenia and the Mount Ararat being so close, at least that part is not so hard. It's not far-fetched. I really feel it's not far-fetched that it could be ours. And who owns the land? Nobody really owns the land. It's just who's sitting on it at the particular time. It's all politics. That land belongs to everybody. And who has the history on particular land. So our history is there. That's why I'm so interested in archaeology. Our history is there. And that's something nobody could deny. We have artifacts. And that is established. So, yeah, will it be the Armenia that we know? Is America what I knew when I was a kid? It will change, but the land will not change. And that's what our survivors were yearning for. They knew they had good land. And from good land, you get good vegetation. That's why the fruits are better. And this is a desert. The Los Angeles is a desert. So that's good land. And, I believe in history, and history changes. And this is why history is interesting, to see the change, and you just have to be patient.
Okay,
So,
I'm going to move on to the next.
Okay.